Today we're going to take a look at the event module in Charityproud and review some of its capabilities and the structural organization for events in the system. To begin, we're going to click on Events on the navigation bar, and then when you're ready to add a new event to your Charityproud system, you'll click on Add a New Event to begin. You'll see at the top we've got some general information for you to enter about the event, a name. You can assign a type to it, as well as a status that you can update over time, an event start and end date and time. Sometimes an event will start and end on the same day, but there are times when an event may extend over a longer period of time. There's also an optional RSVP date and time if you would like to impose an RSVP date. You may list yourself or someone else on your team as the coordinator for the event. Whoever is the main contact for this event at your organization is who you should select for this role. And remember that in order for someone's name to be listed on the coordinator dropdown, that person needs to have the checkbox to indicate that they should be noted as a coordinator in the system checked in their user profile. New events are considered active by default, so you don't need to check that box. We'll check it for you. And then you'll add your event location. The default that will populate in here is going to be the location of your office according to our system records, but you're welcome to override that. And the same goes for the contact information. If the main contact for Charityproud is not the same person as the main contact for this event, you may change those details as well. And that also applies here in the footer text. Next, you have an event description box. And in the event description box, which is expandable if you'd like to expand it as you work, you're able to enter the details that someone needs to know if they're going to attend your event. Now, the great thing I think about the event structure in Charityproud is that it is very flexible and allows you to schedule a wide variety of events in the system. I have seen clients use this event module to do traditional things like black tie galas or golf tournaments. I've also seen people use the event module to take RSVPs for continuing education seminars, weekend retreats, even summer school, summer arts education program. So the sky is the limit, and you should use your imagination, and if you do, you'll be able to, I think, use the event module successfully to help you plan and sell tickets for whatever event that you create. That's why the description box is expandable, and it does allow you to include as much information as you would like to share in order to help the event be successful, and for the people who potentially will attend your event to feel prepared and to have reasonable expectations for what will happen when they arrive. You could include a schedule of events here. You could include parking instructions. You could include information about a special guest who is slated to attend. All of these are opportunities you have. In addition, you have some options here on the toolbar to bold your text, to adjust the font type and size, the alignment, as well as inserting things like tables or bulleted lists, and even embedding hyperlinked text to link out to other sources if you need to. Underneath the description box is the event planning information section, and this is where you will enter some internal information for the event, such as a planning start and end date for your team's reference, as well as a minimum and maximum capacity for this event if applicable, and your internal goal for the event. Some goals are related strictly to fundraising, others are more focused on awareness or outreach or some sort of continuing education or professional development. It's up to you to determine and for you to record here. At the bottom of the page, we can see event goals and finances. This section is not required, but I strongly encourage you, if you are accepting money for tickets to an event or sponsorships on your Charityproud event registration page, that you utilize the event goals and finances to add some information that then you can monitor your tracking for your budget as well as your income progress in the expenses section, for example, and it helps facilitate processing the registration fees into the system more efficiently. So you'll add your income goal, your attendance goal, your event budget, campaign and fund information, and even if you'd like, enter the name of a mailing that you chose to send through Charityproud. Now let's take a look at what happens when you save an event record by opening an existing event in the demo site. As you can see, we have a couple of new tabs here. First, the online registration page tab, which when you click on will look like this, and you can tell the system, yes, I'd like to create a registration page, and when you check that box, it will create more fields for you. So when we check the box, you can see that we're automatically generating a URL. So we're making this very easy for you to grab a URL and insert it in your newsletter, share it on Facebook, put it on your website, and drive people to the event. You're also able to add custom fields if you've created any custom fields versions that you'd like to use on the event page. Again, this helps make the event registration page more flexible for you. So people collect things like t-shirt sizes or dietary preferences or accessibility needs for attendees, as well as things like golf handicap numbers. So there really is a wide variety of ways in which you can apply custom fields to help customize the input that someone can provide on an event page, and therefore customize the information you're able to collect in the system. You can also choose whether a custom field should display before or after the activities box, which is where all of the ticket types live on the event registration page. And the reason we offer you that flexibility is because sometimes it makes more sense to input the custom field responses after you've made choices about which kinds of tickets or what amount of tickets you'd like to purchase. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It really depends on what your custom fields are. So you can play with that when you create an event registration page and just choose the option that is best for you. As you can see, you also have some options about which pieces of the general information you'd like to display on that front-facing registration page. Things like showing the coordinator, the location, the start and ends dates and times, or just the dates, whether you'd like to show the RSVP date or not. Same thing. There may be some cases where you don't need to display any of that date and time information, or you only want to display the dates because you've got your order of events, your schedule for the day included in that event description box. So again, this is how we're customizing it for you to try to allow for the widest application possible of this event registration structure. If you'd like, you can even change the activities section title of a page. So where it says tickets by default, if you'd like, you could change it. Say your event is free, for example, and you think ticket sounds confusing because, well, nobody's paying for a ticket and ticket connotes some sort of purchase. That's fine. You could come to this activities section title box and type in RSVPs. Or say you are using the event module to collect registrations, again, for like a professional development event that takes place over a whole day, but maybe there's different seminar opportunities. You could literally name the box seminar opportunities and then allow people to add to their cart whichever seminars they'd like to attend on your schedule. Similarly, you can change the label for guest names. So on the event registration page, the default is for it to display text that says add guest name. If you'd like it to change, then you can do that here. And you can even choose whether or not you want a guest name field to display on the front-facing page really depends on the kind of event you're hosting, as to whether or not you even need or care to have guest names be a part of what people interact with on your event registration page. So keep all of that in mind. Feel free and comfortable to make the choices that work for you in this particular context. Each event record in Charityproud stands on its own, so you're not going to be negatively impacting any of your other records by making these choices for this individual event. We also have some options down here, such as the event thank you page and thank you email, which by default we will pull the default text from the settings section, where you've got an opportunity to edit an email that will confirm someone's registration and send it out to anyone who registers. But if you are an event-heavy organization and you have multiple events going on either at the same time or staggered quickly in succession, you may have a need to include specific instructions, say, about parking for one event but not another, because it doesn't apply to the other because it's in a different location. All you need to do is click on the link. This first link is for the thank you page, and the default, as we can see, is to use the template defined in settings. But if you don't want to do that, just uncheck the box and we'll provide the field to you, and you can add whatever you'd like. The same rule applies for the event registration thank you email. The template is what is chosen by default, but in order to customize it, all you need to do is uncheck this box. Now let's stay here for a minute and talk about this email. The template that we provide to you merges your site logo. So remember, we're grabbing this image from the upper right-hand corner and inserting it into this mobile-friendly template. This is going to look very crisp and clean in an interface on an iPhone or an Android phone or your iPad or tablet, so as well as look nice in a regular email format. That's part of the reason why we provided it for you. But you can customize any of this that you'd like. You can click in here and clean out these codes and then write whatever message you would like to. And we've provided all of the event-related merge tags over here in the merge tag legend on the right-hand side of this screen in order for you to easily add back the merge tags you do want to use. One thing I'll point out to you is that we include in the template an event check-in QR code. For those of you who don't know what a QR code is, it's this little square, they're not UPC codes, but they look kind of similar. They're black and white, and the way it works is that when you scan one of those QR codes, it then links you out to a site. Now, in our case, what happens is you can use any cell phone, anyone, you or a volunteer. You don't need an app. You do not need to pay anything additional to utilize this service on your phone. You simply open the camera and hold the camera over the QR code, and both Apple and Android phones are designed now to be able to pick up that QR code and direct you out to the link. When you click on the link, it checks the person in on Charityproud, and it really is just that simple to use. In fact, I tested it recently myself when volunteering for an organization locally in my town that is a Charityproud client. So I can confirm to you it works beautifully. It's very easy, and then all your records are up to date about who actually attended your event. If you'd like to get very fancy in this email, you can even click on the source code and scroll down and do things like change the color of the blocks. So for those of you who know how to recognize and read code, you can see where it says things like font color. You can change those as well as the blocks themselves. And I have seen some of my clients use that to positive effect. So feel free playing with it. Just remember, if you haven't saved your changes yet, then no harm, no foul. All you have to do is click on the back button, and then when you come back into this email, it's just as it was when you began. Also, don't forget to add a subject line. Emails without subject lines have a much lower open rate, so always remember to add a subject line when you're using a Charityproud automated email. So that's the online registration page tab. Then we've got the online event donations tab. If you'd like, you may allow your supporters to make additional contributions beyond the registration fees that they may pay for your event. If you do that, when you check this box, then all of the active campaigns and excuse me, mini campaigns or peer-to-peer fundraisers will populate here, and you can hand pick which campaigns, mini campaigns, or peer-to-peer fundraiser opportunities will populate on a drop-down menu on the event registration page. Anything that you don't choose will just not appear at all. So let's take a look at this event registration page. As you can see, we've got our event name populates up here as the title, our social sharing links, an image that we've uploaded, which we'll talk about the design aspects in just a minute, as well as here's all the information from our event general information that we wanted to display on the front-facing page. Contact information listed here, which we include business name, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes people, especially if you're including sponsorship opportunities on your event registration page, someone may be directed on behalf of their company to go ahead and pay the sponsorship fee on the event registration page with a credit card. And if they do, we want you to be able to tell the difference between whether they are submitting that information for themselves or on behalf of their organization. Typically, if someone includes the business name, they're doing it on behalf of the organization. Then we have the tickets box, and this is where all the different kinds of activities that you create will live, as long as you have checked the option to show them on the front-facing page. You can see we've got them listed, and we're going to talk in a minute about how to create those activities, and you'll just add them to your cart. We also have the ability to use a promotion code. If you create promotion codes, you can set a discounted price or even make something free so that people who have that code can register at that lower or nullified rate. You'll click here to add guest information. Those of you who are familiar with using ticketing softwares will recognize that what we're doing is we are allowing you to add additional details about guests, and the reason is because sometimes you need to communicate with all of the people who are planning to attend an event, especially if you have something like, I don't know, you get rained out. And in order to do that effectively, you need to have everyone's information. So this gives you a way to collect that. We also have some precautions in place so that you may not add, for example, more tickets to your cart, or more guests rather, to your registration than you have tickets added to your cart. Underneath that, as you see here, I want to make an additional contribution. When you check that, then the opportunity in the drop-down appears to select from the available campaigns a way to direct a gift that is additional and add whatever donation amount you want. You can even click on Add More, and I could continue to make donations to additional campaigns, mini campaigns, or peer-to-peer fundraisers if I would like. There's also an additional comments box should you need it, CAPTCHA information for security, and then people will submit their information. Once I add anything with a cost to my cart, you'll also notice that the payment information appears, so people will fill that out as well. Underneath that, you can see we've got a sponsors box. Let's talk a little bit about sponsors. Sometimes when you have events and you make sponsorships available, you want to include those sponsors and their logos on your event collateral, which these days includes the registration site for the event itself. Sponsors is an option over here on the features menu. You'll notice the features menu has grown a lot since this is a saved record versus a record that we are building and has not yet been saved. But sponsors is near the bottom, and you'll click on sponsors, and there you'll see here's your list of existing these are the ones that I've preloaded for this event, sponsors that you can add and then size the logos. You'll click on add a new sponsor to begin, add the sponsor name, as well as you can embed their corporate link if you would like. You can choose on which line you may display it. You may display up to 10 lines of sponsors. We figured that's probably going to cover most people's bases. If you ever need more, please let us know. And then you can choose what line position something should have. So am I occupying a singular space as a title or presenting sponsor? Are there 2 per line, or are there 3 per line? And you can make those choices. Once you save, you'll also have the opportunity to upload the logo. And once you've uploaded the image, you can choose the display size for the logo. There are 3 options here. So the system default, that is where you're letting the software system determine the optimal size for the image. The logo's original size, so whatever the logo is when you uploaded it, or user defined. And so user defined would mean you're just defining how wide you'd like it to be, and then we will lock the aspect ratio to determine the height. And you'll notice that the description, that is what is appearing on the front-facing page underneath the image. So the name of the sponsor is just literally the name of the company or supporting organization. The description is what will appear underneath the image. So just keep that in mind. Now let's talk about how to get these activities in the tickets box. To do that, you are going to click on Activities on the Features menu. It's the first item on the Features menu in Events, and arguably the most important because that's how you sell tickets. When you click on Activities, the first page you will see is a list page, and it's going to list all of the activities that you already have created. But if you need to add additional ones or you're starting new, you're going to click on Add a New Activity and then give it a name, add a description, indicate whether something is a sponsorship, whether the fee for this particular activity should be considered a gift or a non-gift. Non-gift, as a reminder, is something that is charitable but not tax deductible. Usually that means that some sort of goods and services have been exchanged for that money. Then you can add the price, choose what item label it should have, and the receipt amount, which may be the same as the price, but it may not, and that's up to you to determine. You may add the number that are available, as well as click on quantity options to restrict the maximum number that one registrant may add to their cart at a time. So if you have a limited exclusive kind of member event, for example, and you can only let 100 people through the doors and you know it's going to be very popular, maybe you're restricting that quantity to 2, and that means that anyone who goes to buy tickets on your site is going to be restricted to just 2 tickets maximum per transaction. Then you can restrict your quantity if you'd like. If that 100 people is a hard limit, you don't want to oversell and you don't want to have some sort of wait list situation, you are going to restrict your quantity. You can also allow groups. If you allow groups, you are creating sort of group ticketing prices. This is for people who want to sell tickets that have a discount if they're bundled. By default, we are going to allow you to show the activity on the registration page, but you can always uncheck that option if you would like, and then we will hide it. So you'll still have it here for your records, and you'd still be able to sell those opportunities, whether they're sponsorships or ticket types, offline and log them offline, but they won't show on the front-facing page. You can also change the order in which an item displays on the event registration page, as well as indicate whether something is a required activity for registration. Now, this is something I would use sparingly, and I'll tell you why. The required activity for registration means that we're going to be adding one of this activity to every single cart, regardless of what else they add as purchases. So this is best applied in instances where you have almost everything about your event is free, but you maybe need people to purchase a boxed lunch, or say you're doing an education seminar. Again, let's use that example. Maybe you need everyone to pay a registration fee, but then you also want them to pick which lectures they want to attend during that day-long educational opportunity. So you need everyone to pay that $50 registration fee regardless of which classes they select. So this gives you a way to enforce that. You can also link each activity to a campaign and a fund. In many instances, it will probably be the same as the event itself, but not necessarily so. So we allow you the flexibility to change that. And then lastly, you can mark an activity as full. If you don't want to pull it from the front-facing page, but you do want people to understand that no more of that particular ticket type is available, then you just mark it as full. When people register, most people are going to register online probably these days, but you'll still have people that want to send you a check. And when they do, you will come to this activities list and find the register link for this particular row, and then enter the constituent's name, add the number of tickets to the cart. You can even add a promo code or fill in any custom field information that is in this event record, and then we'll generate a registration record just as if they had registered online. So you're losing nothing in terms of record keeping if you would like to have people register offline. Otherwise, you might create a sort of two-tiered system where you've got some people where you have more complete information on them or not, and that's not really an effective way to run an event. In addition to the activities, you can also upload attachments. And I'm sure those of you who coordinate events a lot are familiar with something called a Go binder. I fondly recall all my Go binders of yore from when I worked in fundraising. But Go binders are where it's kind of like your brain trust, all your information you may possibly need to reach for on the day of the event. And I'm not suggesting that you get rid of organizing Go binders, but let's do a digital version of it if we can, because sometimes you work from home, or sometimes you work from Starbucks, or sometimes you're working from wherever you previously had a donor meeting. So here's your opportunity to centralize some of that event information, and that does two things. Number one, it naturally facilitates a more collaborative work model in your office because everyone has access to the same information. And number two, it gives you the freedom to work from wherever you may be without having to feel you've lost productivity time because you left your Go binder in your office or your car. Then you have expenses. You can log expenses, and remember I said that filling out the event finance information would be useful here, and that's because we're doing a little math for you up in the top right-hand corner of the page, where as you sell tickets and as you spend money, we will decrease the available budget amount, and we will increase the amount that you've raised towards your income goal, decreasing that event donation gap. You'll just click on Add a New Expense and enter that information and save it to add it to the list. And you'll also notice that you can export this information. I think it's really important to be able to pull this information out if you need to bring it to a staff meeting or a committee meeting and be able to look at everything together. The participants list is what copies to the constituent record, and the constituent record is going to display exactly this row of information, except it's going to say the event name instead of the attendee's name. This also allows you to add guests manually for those people who are registering offline by check. Then you've got a reservations list. The reservations list is really more concerned with tickets. What sort of tickets did people purchase? Well, who are they for? That's what the reservations list does. And you can also export that reservations list to PDF or CSV. The seating chart is one of my favorite things about the event module as a former fundraiser who planned events, because the seating chart is usually a bear to tackle and hard to keep up with as you make changes. Not so anymore. You'll just click on Add Table, create the table. You can either give it a number or a name and add the number of seats, and then click on the Change Seating button for that table in order to choose where people should sit. And the list that you see here pulls from the participant list. So it is important to properly process registrations in, which we will look at together. It's important to process those records in properly, because that's how we populate things like the participant list, and that is how we have people available to assign to seats in the seating chart. You can also see what their a participant's current assignment is in the column on the far right, which I think is helpful, as you do always need to shift some people around. A creative use of this would be to use the seating chart to organize your golf foursomes. So just keep that in mind. That's a thing you could do as well. And of course, you can export this to CSV also. So see, we're kind of helping you generate your records for your Go Binder without having to do extra manual work. Isn't that nice? So we're giving you a space to store it where everyone can see it, but you're also able to pull it back out and print it on a piece of paper, punch holes in that piece of paper, and put it in your 3-ring binder. Sponsors we've already talked about. And then next there's tasks. Tasks is where you can list out everything that needs to be done for an event. You may assign tasks to yourself or to someone else on your team. They'll get a notification letting them know that a task has been assigned. In order for people to be assigned a task, however, it is important to make sure that they have the coordinator checkbox checked in their user profiles. Remember, a coordinator is anyone who assists. You don't have to be the leader. You can be a supporter at your organization, but if you are involved in the execution of events or grants or volunteers, check that coordinator box in the user profile for those users, and that's how you get names that populate on these drop downs for things like tasks. The tasks will also populate in the home dashboard in the tasks box, and they will remain there until whoever the person is to whom you assign these tasks marks those as completed in their list. This is another one you can sort by a date range. You can export to PDF. This is a handy one when you are reporting on progress during the planning stages, to be able to come back to your committee and say, what have we done from meeting 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, or to be able to bring into your weekly staff meeting. Now, in order to get all of those names that we saw on the participant and reservation list, you're going to need to bring in the event registrations. When people submit registrations from these online pages, like we see here, you're going to get an email notification that says, a new event registration has been submitted to Charityproud. Please log on to view more. And then, because you are so excited that someone has registered for your event, you're going to click on it right away, right? Of course. So you will click on it, you'll log in, we'll take you here. You just open on the dollar amount to view the details of the event registration, and then you just need to follow some steps, make some choices. Remember, those steps are included in the help document on this page. Look for the blue circle with the question mark in it. And just like the online donations, whenever an event registration is submitted, we will compare that information that was submitted against all the other information that exists in the site. And where we think we found a match for an existing constituent, we will provide that information to you here. So as you can see here, we are suggesting that this person already exists in the system. So let's scroll down a little bit and see what we think. Underneath the control buttons for the registration import process is all of the information that was submitted by this person online. So the contact information here, we can see, that matches. Okay, yes, I think that's the same person. And click on link registration to this constituent to tell the system, yes, this is the constituent who should be credited with this event registration. You could also choose to override it by searching if you think the constituent's in here but under a different name, or you think the system's made a mistake. You're welcome to override that and create a new constituent record or link to a different constituent record instead. You can also assign affiliations before you do that linkage, or create a business record from a submitted registration. Then we can see all of the registration information that they saw, as well as the particular tickets that they bought. So step one is to either link to an existing constituent or create a new one from the registration. Then we're going to scroll down to see what they submitted, and we are going to click on Add to Reservations to add these tickets to the event reservation list. You can see this one's already been clicked, and that's why it says event reservation. If you need to, by the way, you can also change the quantity of tickets. If you have to refund, like say someone calls you, they bought 2 tickets to something, but the person they invited has come down with the flu and you're offering refunds, so they ask if you can refund them a ticket. You also want your records in Charityproud to be correct, so you could come in here and change that quantity to 1 if you wanted. And then this one's important. This is the event guests. You can see here you have the opportunity to link the guest record to a constituent record if you would like, or create a new one and bring those people in. And this one's important because remember we talked about the need to be able to communicate with everyone who's registered for an event in some cases. This allows you to do that. And you can also click on process this event guest to make sure that you've completed the process steps for that guest. If you've added the tickets to the reservations list, we're already going to go ahead and add the records included in this registration to the participant list for an event. Then all you have to do is click on import the registration record. This is where we're grabbing all of that event registration information out of the online event registration list holding pen, downloading it into the system, adding formally to the donation records, whether gift or non-gift, for that event, and then you'll just mark it as processed to clear it from the list. For those who submit registrations and are unsuccessful, you can see the error that they triggered, and if you would like, you may delete that from the system once you no longer need the record that was unsuccessful. Lastly, there's an item called Event Calendar. This is for those organizations who are hosting many events at the same time, or you just consistently have events for which you've created registrations in Charityproud. We're going to give you a link that you can insert on your organizational website. So imagine on your organization's site, there's a drop-down menu that says Get Involved, and maybe one tab on that drop-down menu says Volunteer, and then one says Upcoming Events. You could click on from Upcoming Events. Maybe now they're on the Charityproud calendar page and they can just scroll through and see which events are available and purchase tickets for whichever ones they'd like to attend. You can also add a description for the event calendar box. This is your space to say, thank you for your interest in supporting XYZ organization. We are hosting a variety of events throughout the year. We'd love to have you come out. Please scroll through our calendar, kind of priming them to know, oh, okay, I should just scroll through the calendar, then I can find one where I might want to participate and then click on it to view more details about it. And you can also add a picture to that page. On the events list page, You can see total donation and pledge amounts for the events that you have showing on the list at this time. You also can toggle between active and inactive events or show all. Again, for those, the more events that you do, the more crowded this page becomes as time goes on. So if you'd like to confine what appears on this page to just the events that are active, just select yes from the drop-down and only the active events will show. So that is the event module. I hope that you will take the instructions for what they are and then try to make the event registration pages your own and think about ways that you can incorporate your current programming or utilize Charityproud to create new event programming at your organization.